And hello, everybody. Welcome to Around the Realm. With me, I have my good friend Ashley Poprik, who plays Raven. Hello, Ashley. Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, going good. So excited to have you back. We'll skip the formalities. People know who you are now. You've done your little intro. So we are gonna dig right into the questions here. So when it
Awesome.
comes to being in a tabletop game and like prepping as a character, like there's ways that DMs prep, or some people just like to improv and just go for it. So like when you prepare for like the next session or like episode per se, do you like to come up with like, do you prep and get ready to think like I would like it to go this way for my character, or do you just kind of like I'm gonna hop in and I'm just gonna go with the flow and see what happens?
Yeah, I feel like I do a little bit of both. I feel like especially for this season, there were times where I was like, okay, like Raven needs to have some sort of moment here where like either she does something in a fight or starts like a combat or has a like important conversation with another one of the party members and would try to kind of steer things in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really as far as it would go in terms of planning. And I feel like there were a lot of times that it just like the story was unfolding and I ended up just kind of improvising anyways. I would say like it's really nice having an idea of like what you want your character to do, and who you want your character to be, what kind of gauntlets you want them to go through, but the story is going to unfold in ways that like you didn't imagine, so you don't want to have anything that's like super set, even though I feel like that's good advice for the kind of director, I guess. What's the equivalent of the dungeon master for cyberpunk? The cyber master,
Yes, the
who can
cyber
say?
master.
So whatever the cyber master has to do, like I feel like that's really good advice for them, anybody who's like actually planning these campaigns. But just even as a character, there's no way that you're going to be able to like fully steer what you're doing, especially when you're in like a big group and they have plans for you too. So yeah, having a bit of both is nice.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like, I feel like just when it comes to pivotal moments of a character, I'm really glad, big brain pat on the back for myself, they got you on for this episode, because when I was watching it again, I was like, oh yeah, this is a Raven episode. This is a pivotal, like we really Raven was such a mystery before, but now we really get to see like a lot about Raven's backstory and why, like why Raven is the way she is in a sense. And I feel like this
Hmm.
is also a pivotal moment of the group kind of opening up to her. I feel like like Zigzag and Raven always had like got along better, but it was a lot harder with like
Uh-huh.
Sid. And I feel like this was like the first moment that Sid was is starting to soften up. And speaking
Hmm.
of that,
Hmm.
like I mean, maybe this is just Gizmo, who Gizmo is, and like his terminology. Like he was saying something in the beginning of the episode, which we'll go over, about like saying that, oh, she's just a kid, Sid, go easy on her. So how old is Raven?
I was envisioning she's 19, so
Okay.
like not necessarily like a child,
Hmm.
but just kind of like freshly adult. I
Yeah.
feel like your brain is like a little bit more developed, but still not fully developed, and you have enough freedom to where you're able to do more adult things, but you still don't have like a full adult brain. I feel like personally for me, I learned a lot about myself when I was 19 and was like being an adult. I had my first like full-time job, and was kind of juggling a whole bunch of different things while also still like having kid brain, and finding how to balance that was really a struggle for me. And I kind of wanted to take some of that into Raven, obviously much more extreme. But yeah, so in my eyes, she's 19.
Yeah, no, yeah, perfect age. Yeah. I mean, not perfect for this kind of setting with the intense crime family, but hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot for her to navigate, especially since she was freshly out of a crime family and was just kind
Mhm.
of on her own for the longest time until she met these guys. So, yeah. Did you ever have any like alternate intentions, I guess? Like instead of having Raven be this kind of way, did you ever have any other thoughts? And like let's say like more like of a stern evil or like a, you know, like a more of a shy meek, you know, like did you have any other thoughts when you were creating Raven?
Yeah, actually initially I thought maybe Raven would be just like really stoic and robotic because she has that like cyber arm, and I still wanted her to be like a loner character, not really belonging to any family. And so I imagined her to be like a lot harder, and just like cold, still in a way like Raven is in this version not able to open up, but that one would be very, very like explicitly, I'm not talking to anybody, I'm not your friend, not making any jokes, just very, very like stern and robotic. But then I think it was while playing the first episode, we started and I was like, that wouldn't be super fun. There might be a cooler way of doing this. So I pretty quickly took a turn.
Yeah. I mean, I love how subtly comical Raven is, like just making these quips and marks, and it's not like to be desperate to be funny and to get attention. It's just Raven being Raven, and just those moments can be so
Hmm.
funny, and I feel like that's what makes it funny. You're like, like it's not Raven trying to be funny; it's just Raven being Raven, and that's just what makes it. Um, Especially in this episode, we have like a really close, like almost parental relationship going on with Bug and Raven. And I mean, I feel like Bug's always been kind of like just how I've seen, like a father figure almost. And this was the first time that he really had like a heart to heart saying, you're like, kid, this is the life. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this in any way. Do you want this? This is up to you. So, like, during this heart to heart, what do you think, like, what was going on in Raven's head, like, during this heart to heart? Because it's like it's such a nice relaxing moment after like the Bonito Ranch just exploded. So like
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
nice to have like a calm heart to heart moment. So what was kind of going on in Raven's head?
Yeah, I think this is really the first time that Raven gets like an authentic heart to heart in talking to. You know, she is always kind of looking for this family, but also doesn't really know what that looks like.
Mm,
And so when she kind of first has it, she doesn't really know what to do and is kind of like, like, wait, what? And isn't really sure kind of like what to do about it. And I think that's why Raven just feels so like nervous and weird about being told like, okay, well, this is what your life is going to be like if you decide to be with our family, even though she's like had that life before, she hasn't necessarily had that like talking to. So it's a very pivotal moment because she just in general doesn't know how to deal with that.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, it
Hmm.
it would probably be like such a shocking moment to have somebody there for you, like Bug has been, and just saying, I mean, he gives tough love, but it's love regardless.
Hmm.
And just laying it out for somebody that hasn't had that kind of protection or parental figure is definitely super pivotal. Um,
Yeah, I think this is the first time that like she kind of notices that, and it's a really pivotal moment in Raven's life in general, because she has to kind of take this new experience and find how to deal with it, and hasn't had to deal with it before. um
yeah,
so it's scary for her.
and it's such a intense decision for just a 19-year-old to make, like you just saw the Bonito Ranch explode, so I'm gonna lay it out for you. Do you want this life? Do you want to be a part of this family? Do you not? It's like it's a lot for, I mean, anyone to navigate, but let alone like a 19-year-old freshly out of a family and then freshly into this. It's just been a whole, Carmen's an evil DM, you don't get a break.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because she's obviously done so many dangerous things like in her life, so many things that like could have killed her, ended her life, but she hasn't really thought about it and hasn't really had somebody that like has cared about it, so it hasn't really come to her face to face. So
Yeah.
now that she's having to face it head on, she's really having to think about it.
Speaking of just like uh bonding, I feel like uh just especially learning a lot about Raven in this episode. She and Zigzag definitely connect her in this episode. I feel like they've just kind of naturally clicked from the beginning, especially with the whole, like first episode, saving her life kind of thing. But I feel like they've had a sister like bond, and in a way, Zigzag gives a heart to heart to Raven, just saying, like it's nice having somebody else around my age, and it's nice having somebody else to talk to. that I can also relate to. So, was that kind of relationship, that like gravitational pull, was that pre-planned between you and Aaron Fusco, who plays Zigzag, or did that just kind of happen?
It just kind of happened. I kind of thought actually at the beginning that there was a possibility that we would have this rivalry just because she's like, she's so extroverted. She's also, I don't know, she's kind of the opposite of Raven, where like the family wants to bring her in and like she's always had this family and she wants to get away. Whereas Raven's like never really had that family and is just like desperately trying to get in and like doesn't really have any friends, isn't popular. And so I was kind of wondering if they would end up being so opposite that they wouldn't get along at all. But I think there were enough things that the two can kind of bond over and talk about, that it ended up actually making the relationship stronger, because they were learning from each other's viewpoints and stuff. So yeah, we didn't talk about it prior, but I'm really glad it happened how it did.
Yeah, definitely. I now that you say it like that, I mean, I didn't even think about that, like how polar opposite they are, but opposites do attract. I mean, and then there's
Mhm.
Raven and Sid. But Sid is like, at this point, Sid is starting to warm up, and I remember talking to Mylan about Sid and how she operates. She's like, she's like, Sid is very and I have to operate this way,
Mhm.
and I have to operate with people that I'm used to, that she's used to, and that who Gizmo, like she has such a tight bond with Gizmo that she's not like open and stuff, and just the contrast there compared to the contrast with Zigzag and Raven is very interesting. But they sure shrimp now, so we're getting along, folks. It
Yep,
seems like
yep.
we're getting along. Now, I gotta ask, does Raven have a thing for power couples? Because there are a lot of you should kiss in this episode. And I was immediately thrown back to season one with like thinking about Martin Money being like, like with his power couples. So I gotta know, does Raven have a
Uh-huh.
thing for power? Yeah, yes, you heard it here, folks.
Yes. And also, like, I think a couple episodes before, they were able to get out of a really tough situation just by like giving a kiss on the head. So now Raven not really being able to like exactly put like the 2 points together is now just like, oh, if we kiss, we're all out of like we don't
Yes.
have any, we don't have any problems and everything is good and great.
If you just kiss your problems away, folks, you heard it here.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
um So I guess if, let's say, Raven never ended up with the Novas in the first place, like never ended up in any crime, like family at all, where do you think she would be right now? Do you think she'd be in a better situation, in a worse situation, in between?
I think probably worse. Even though like Raven has been alone for so long, I don't think she really thrives in that environment. That's why she's just like always willingly like no plans, making a lot of mistakes all the time. And I feel like it was because she didn't have a network or support system.
Hmm.
And I think being with the Novas kind of started steering her in that direction, even though they weren't necessarily accepting of her and wanting to bring her in right away. It kind of just helped with that like accountability and community. Like she had people that like were making sure that she wasn't messing up as much. And she had, different people to think about. I think if she was doing that stuff alone, she would be getting in a lot more trouble. I had always envisioned like if there was ever an episode where we went to Raven's house before, before she got to like where she is now with like our present day, like it would basically just be like nothing, she climbs into just like random abandoned apartments and like sleeps in there for the night. Maybe she gets caught so she has to like scram and move somewhere else, but I was just thinking like she doesn't really have a home or a
Hmm.
place to go to. So if they ever like went to visit, it would just kind of be like her breaking into somebody's place and being like, yeah, this is my home, for
Totally
them to
my
just find
home.
out that like she doesn't have one. Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny if she broke in. This is my home and it's Ruby's.
She's like, I don't think it is actually.
Don't think it's your room.
Mhm.
Not everybody can be like Ruby with speakers and, videos. Weirdo Ruby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Raven needed roots. So
Yeah,
it's very
and
good that like she ended up with the Novas.
definitely. And I think she was explaining that in this episode too. Like, like, yes, the Novas are bad, and yes, there's this big rivalry, but once you're in a family, you take care of your own and you support. There's a sense of
Hmm.
community that I think you're right. She probably would have been off any better had she not found the Novas in the first place. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
um,
Hey, a
is
crime family's better than no family, you
yeah,
know. At
crime
least
family.
at least from her perspective.
I
I'm
would
not
like
trying
that
to
on a mug.
persuade anybody to join a crime family. Okay, just a
Temporary Legend does
disclaimer.
not enjoy does not endorse crime families. But I would like that on a mug. A crime family is better than no family. So in this series, is there a character that you see yourself in that isn't the character you play? And if so, why?
I would say just not exactly, but a little bit. I do see myself in some of Zigzag. I feel like I had very similar like um kind of ideologies, and was always, even though I'm like surrounded by people and I'm constantly in a community, I greatly value just like finding independence and like making my own way alone, which is something that I see Zigzag doing a lot. She's in this crime family and like she has all of this, I mean, kind of established like privilege that she can use, but instead is like, I want to carve my own path and do what I want, and do what makes me happy, because like I don't belong to people. And so in some ways I feel like I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Zigzag is definitely, making her own way despite the path that Ma had tried to carve out for her, but she made it on her
Mhm.
oon. Um,
Yeah.
all right, now we're gonna get into our episode recap. So
Woo.
we left off Bonito Ranch, totally up in flames. Everybody was in an AV headed towards Night City. And of course, there was an AV following behind, but we'll get to that later. Gizmo's gonna convince Sid to be kinder to Raven because now we know Raven is 19 and has been through a lot. So Sid is kind of softening up to Raven, and Rian still has that tracking thing in his head, by his head, and Gizmo and Bug try to get it out. Bug's way isn't gonna work because that's just gonna pretty much decapitate him. And Gizmo's like, I got this. Does not that may not be what Gizmo sounds like, but we'll ask Ryan. So Gizmo, he tries to take the tracker off of him, but I don't think everybody rolled too good. So, some of his face and his eye burn off. I forgot about his eye burning off. Um, because there was a trigger in the tracker that Gizmo must have set off. And Rian's not doing too hot, but he's okay, and he's gonna be alive. We also learned about a new character, Lucia, who is Ruby's rival, and she's just somebody who definitely wanted to prove that she was better than Ruby, and it's just like this petty rivalry that we will soon learn about. And we also learn about the Whisperer, who is somebody that Finnick. Okay, wait. Do you remember Finnick in the first episode? I know we like never mentioned Finnick before this. So Finnick in the first episode was the one who was like, "Hey Sid, I have a job for you." Okay, now we're gonna flash back. Okay, who Finnick hires when things get out of hand and like the Whisper goes to clean up said situation. Now we know that the Whisper is not Calypso, and Calypso, I believe, is with Ruby's secret smoke show assistant Juno, which we'll get to later.
Oh.
And we learned that Nyx and Finnick, who we assumed were teaming up together to plot against Sid, were probably not together as we thought they were. And Sid has worked for the Whisper a few times, but has never officially met them. And we learn a little bit more about the Whisper. The Whisper was the person with the mask and the katana in a few episodes back. That is their pretty much like their signature look. And as they're trying to piece this together, they're like, Sid has some memories that could be of help, but since her head is messed up, she's gonna need the surgery sooner than later, and they could get help with Thrice Down Triple Duke, but Ruby kind of cut ties with Thrice Down when she went on that date with Kodara and made her pay. Damn, Ruby.
Messed up.
But Ruby checks in on Juno, who is with Calypso, and then there is like some risky text going on about like, huh, what? Nothing's happening here, so uh-oh. But it's not looking good. Thrice Down is not really happy to talk to Ruby, but Ruby's just gonna have to give it a shot because it's kind of the only lead they have going right now. So once they finish driving for what feels like an abnormally long time, they get to a boathouse slash houseboat. Here we go again. And
I
this
won't even
is
start.
I know, I know. I mean, season 1 and then season 2, houseboat, boathouse. I hope this is a thing. But it's on the water, so a boat home, a boat, a dwelling.
I mean, any place is a boat home if you
That's
make it
true.
so.
It's on the water. It's a floaty thing on the water. Anyways, this is where Bug has that heart to heart with Raven that we were talking about, pretty much like saying, like, hey kid, I'm not sugarcoating this. This is what you're going to be getting into, and this is your choice whether or not you would like to stay, because Raven is now like officially part of the Benito family, if that is what Raven chooses. So there's a lot on Raven's shoulders right now, and this is where the heart to heart happens with Zigzag and Raven, like this nice little sibling relationship. And the group finds out that Finnick is working with Jafari from the High Riders. So now that they have found all this out, it's getting pretty late, so they all decide to turn in for the night. Some people go to bed, and some people are partying hard with the sailors. And we leave off at a somewhat tame, somewhat tame ending, but there is a lot to go on with. We have to figure out, how is Sid gonna get her head fixed? Is she gonna get it fixed? And what's gonna go on with Raven? Is Raven gonna stay? Is Raven gonna go?
Who
I don't
knows?
know,
I
folks. Who
don't.
knows? I don't. Yeah, I don't either. So I guess you're just gonna have to tune into the next episode. So, thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on again. I'm really glad that we got to know a little bit more about Raven, especially during like this pivotal episode where she really opened up. And I am very interested. I'm so excited for everybody to see how this blossoms and how this continues, because it only gets more exciting from here.